Picture this, a crisp spring day on the Hudson River. Sun shining, water sparkling, and two people in love are enjoying a kayaking trip. Seems like a scene, straight out of a romantic movie. But for Vincent Viafore and Angelika Graswald, this idyllic outing in April 2015 will turn into a nightmare. What began as a leisurely paddle near Bannerman's Island ended with Vincent's kayak capsized, and his body was lost to the icy depths. While the initial assumption was, a tragic accident, whispers of suspicion soon arose swirling around Angelika's seemingly erratic behavior and conflicting accounts of what happened that day.
Yeah, what's captivating about this case is how quickly a picture of grief and loss transformed into this puzzle of possible deception. On the surface, you have a grieving fiancée desperate for help as her partner struggles in the frigid waters. But as investigators delved deeper, they uncovered a series of inconsistencies, and those cast a long shadow of doubt over the incident.
It's almost like watching a movie where that idyllic opening scene fades to black, only to return with this unsettling score and a sense of foreboding.
Precisely. The seemingly perfect couple kayaking on a beautiful day becomes a chilling tale of a life lost. And the lingering question, was it a tragic accident or something more sinister?
Welcome to CrimePod Castle's Twisted Crime series, where we dissect these perplexing cases, examining the intricate layers of human behavior and the often blurred lines between truth and deception.
Today, we'll journey into the heart of the Angelika Graswald kayak murder case, dissecting the evidence, exploring the motivations, and attempting to understand the events that led to Vincent Viafore's untimely demise.
So let's start by diving into the lives of the two individuals at the center of this mystery. Vincent Viafore, a 46-year-old Poughkeepsie native. He was known for his adventurous spirit. He embraced the outdoors, finding joy in kayaking, hiking, and boating. He seemed to be living a life, filled with passion and a zest for adventure.
And then we have Angelika Graswald, a 35-year-old Latvian immigrant who had come to the U.S. seeking new opportunities. She, too, seemed drawn to the outdoors and creative pursuits, sharing Vincent's love for photography and exploration. On the surface, they appeared to be a match made in heaven, two souls connected by their shared love for life and adventure.
But as with many captivating mysteries, the surface rarely reveals the whole truth.
Precisely. The seemingly harmonious relationship between Vincent and Angelika was not without its complexities. As the investigation unfolded, details emerged that hinted at underlying tensions, and a relationship that may have been more turbulent than it initially appeared.
It's a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Let's rewind to that fateful day, April 19th, 2015. Vincent and Angelika set out on what seemed like a routine kayaking trip, a familiar adventure on the Hudson River. But the conditions that day were far from ideal.
The water was unusually cold, and the currents were strong factors that would later play a crucial role in the unfolding events. Adding to the potential danger was a critical detail that emerged about Vincent's kayak. It was reportedly missing its drain plug.
A missing drain plug. That sounds like a recipe for disaster, especially in cold water with strong currents.
Exactly. A drain plug is essential for maintaining a kayak's buoyancy. Without it, the kayak becomes vulnerable to taking on water, making it significantly more difficult to control, and increases the risk of capsizing. This seemingly small detail would become a focal point of the investigation.
So what happened next? Walk us through Angelika's account of the events that led to Vincent's disappearance.
According to Angelika, Vincent's kayak capsized. She described a frantic struggle as he fought to stay afloat in the icy water, hampered by the lack of a life jacket. She claimed to have tried to help him, but ultimately couldn't save him.
And she called 911, right?
Yes. Angelika did call 911, her voice filled with panic and distress as she reported the incident. However, as investigators listened to the recording and began piecing together her account, inconsistencies started to surface.
What kind of inconsistencies? Was it just the shock and confusion of the moment? Or was there something more deliberate in her shifting narrative?
That's the question that haunted the investigation. Angelika's initial story began to unravel as she gave conflicting statements about the sequence of events. Leading up to Vincent's disappearance, details changed, timelines shifted, and a growing sense of unease settled over the case.
It's like trying to hold on to a handful of sand. The more you squeeze, the more slips through your fingers.
An apt analogy. Each attempt to clarify seemed to muddy the waters further.
And then there's that chilling statement she made about feeling relieved after Vincent's death. That's a difficult detail to reconcile with the image of a grieving fiancé.
That comment became a turning point in the investigation. It raised a red flag, prompting investigators to shift their focus from a tragic accident to a possible case of foul play. Why would someone express relief after losing the person they supposedly loved? Was it a slip of the tongue? a misinterpretation, or a glimpse into a darker truth lurking beneath the surface? It's a question that continues to fuel speculation and debate to this day. But before we dive into the interpretations and theories, let's examine another layer of this intricate case: the financial motive.
Ah, yes, the life insurance policies. Those always seem to add an extra layer of complexity to these types of cases.
Indeed. Investigators discovered that Vincent had two life insurance policies totaling $250,000, with Angelika named as the beneficiary. This revelation fueled the flames of suspicion, casting a new light on the events surrounding his death.
Now, I know a financial motive doesn't automatically equate to guilt. People take out life insurance policies all the time to protect their loved ones. But in a case like this, where there are already questions surrounding the circumstances of the death, it certainly adds another layer of intrigue.
Absolutely. It prompts us to consider the possibility that Angelika may have seen Vincent's death as a way to gain financial security. But was that truly her motive, or was it simply a tragic coincidence that added fuel to an already suspicious fire?
It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, where some of the pieces might be missing, and others might not even belong to the same picture.
A fitting analogy. To complicate matters further, there was the forensic analysis of the kayak itself. While experts couldn't definitively prove that the drain plug had been deliberately removed, the possibility remained on the table. The prosecution argued that Angelika may have tampered with the kayak to ensure Vincent's demise. However, the defense countered, suggesting that the drain plug could have simply come loose accidentally.
So we have conflicting accounts, a questionable comment, a potential financial motive, and a missing drain plug that could be either accidental or intentional. It's a recipe for intense scrutiny and speculation. What happened next in the investigation?
10 days after the kayaking incident, Angelika was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. The weight of the circumstantial evidence, combined with her inconsistent statements, was enough to raise serious concerns in the eyes of the law.
That must have been a shocking turn of events. Imagine going from a seemingly grieving fiancé to a suspect in a murder investigation.
It's a stark reminder of how quickly life can change, and how even the most seemingly ordinary situations can spiral into a maelstrom of suspicion and legal battles. And the case took another dramatic turn when, during interrogation, Angelika allegedly confessed to tampering with the kayak and delaying her call for help.
A confession. That seems like a pretty damning piece of evidence. Did she admit to intentionally causing Vincent's death?
Not explicitly. According to reports, she expressed feelings of being trapped in the relationship and unhappiness with Vincent's behavior. It was a complex and nuanced confession that raised more questions than answers. Was she admitting to deliberately causing his death? Or was it a desperate attempt to explain her actions in a way that minimized her culpability?
It's a reminder that confessions aren't always clear-cut admissions of guilt. They can be influenced by a multitude of factors: stress, fear, confusion, even a desire to protect oneself from further scrutiny.
Precisely. And in this case, Angelika later recanted her confession, claiming that she had been coerced by the police and that language barriers had led to misunderstandings. Her defense team maintained that Vincent's death was a tragic accident fueled by a series of unfortunate circumstances rather than deliberate intent.
So we have a confession that is later recanted, a possible motive that could be interpreted in various ways, and a public increasingly captivated by this unfolding drama. What happened when the case finally went to trial?
Well, as the trial approached in 2017, anticipation and speculation reached a fever pitch. The prosecution was prepared to present their case, arguing that Angelika had intentionally caused Vincent's death, driven by a desire for freedom and financial gain. The defense, on the other hand, was ready to fight for their client's innocence, portraying her as a victim of circumstance and a flawed investigation.
It must have felt like a pivotal moment, a clash between two competing narratives, each vying for the truth.
Absolutely. But just as the legal battle was about to commence, Angelika made a decision that would forever alter the course of the case. Instead of risking a murder conviction and a potentially lengthy prison sentence, she decided to accept a plea deal.
A plea deal. So she admitted to some level of responsibility in Vincent's death.
Yes, but not to murder. She pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide. In essence, she acknowledged that she had failed to provide adequate assistance to Vincent when he was in danger, ultimately leading to his death.
So she wasn't admitting to intentionally causing his death, but she was accepting responsibility for not doing enough to save him. It's a nuanced legal distinction that likely sparked debate and divided opinions.
Indeed. It raises the question, what constitutes adequate assistance in a life or death situation? Where does negligence end and deliberate inaction begin?
It's the question that likely haunted both sides of this case. blurring the lines between a tragic accident and a calculated act. What was Angelika's sentence for criminally negligent homicide?
She was sentenced to 1 to 4 years in prison. However, after accounting for time already served while awaiting trial, she ended up being released after just 2.5 years.
2.5 years for a case that initially involved murder charges.
Yeah.
That seems incredibly lenient to me.
You're not alone in that sentiment. The seemingly light sentence ignited public outcry, particularly among those who believed Angelika deserved a harsher punishment for her role in Vincent's death. The perception of a lenient sentence sparked debate about whether justice had truly been served.
It's a reminder that the legal system isn't always about finding absolute truth or delivering perfect justice. It's a complex and often imperfect process, navigating a labyrinth of evidence, interpretations, and legal strategies.
And in this case, the plea deal, while offering a resolution to the legal proceedings, left many questions unanswered. It provided closure in a legal sense, but left a lingering cloud of ambiguity over the true nature of Angelika's actions and motivations.
So where do we go from here? How do we reconcile the conflicting narratives, the unanswered questions, and the lingering doubts that surround this case? Feels like we're standing at a crossroads, with these two paths diverging, one labeled tragic accident and the other calculated act. Which path do we choose? Or is the truth somewhere in between?
That's the heart of this enduring mystery. I think it's important to acknowledge that we may never know definitively what transpired on that kayak trip. We're left with pieces of a puzzle, some fitting neatly while others remain askew.
It's a frustrating realization, especially when we crave those clear-cut answers and a sense of resolution. But perhaps that ambiguity is a reflection of the complexities of human nature itself.
Precisely. We often seek simple explanations for complicated events, but the reality is that human behavior is rarely black and white. It's a tapestry woven from a multitude of threads, emotions, motivations, and circumstances that can be incredibly difficult to untangle.
So how do we make sense of a case like this where the line between accident and intention seems so blurred? Do we focus on the inconsistencies in Angelika's statements, the financial motive, or the fact that she ultimately accepted a plea deal?
I believe the key lies in examining all the evidence, not in isolation, but as threads woven together forming a larger picture. We must consider the external factors, the treacherous water conditions, the missing drain plug, and the internal factors. Angelika's state of mind, her relationship with Vincent, and any potential underlying tensions that may have existed.
It's like trying to understand a painting by not only looking at the individual brushstrokes, but also considering the artist's technique, the choice of colors, and the overall composition.
Exactly. Each element contributes to the final image. And in a case like this, understanding the interplay of those elements is crucial to forming an informed perspective.
It's a reminder that truth is often multifaceted. It's not always a singular revelation, but rather a mosaic of perspectives and interpretations.
And it's in those gray areas, the spaces between certainty and doubt, that we're challenged to think critically, to weigh the evidence, and to acknowledge that sometimes definitive answers remain elusive.
The Angelika Graswald kayak murder case serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unexpected turns it can take. One moment you're enjoying a scenic kayak trip, and the next you're entangled in a web of suspicion and tragedy.
It also highlights the importance of clear communication in relationships. Bottling up frustrations or avoiding difficult conversations can create a breeding ground for resentment and conflict. Addressing issues head-on may not always be easy, but it's essential for fostering healthy and sustainable connections.
And perhaps most importantly, it underscores the significance of personal accountability. We all make choices, some with far-reaching consequences, accepting responsibility for our actions, whether they stem from negligence, recklessness, or deliberate intent, is crucial for growth and self-awareness.
It's a difficult lesson to learn, but an essential one nonetheless.
Well said. And with that, we conclude our deep dive into the Angelika Graswald kayak murder case, a tale of love loss and the enduring mysteries of human motivation.
We hope this exploration has prompted you to think critically about the complexities of truth, the challenges of navigating ambiguous situations, and the importance of seeking understanding even in the face of unanswered questions.
If you've been captivated by this story, we encourage you to delve deeper into the world of CrimePod. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive bonus content, behind-the-scenes footage, and more.
We're always on the lookout for new cases to explore, so if you have any suggestions or stories that intrigue you, don't hesitate to reach out.
Until next time, remember that truth is often stranger than fiction, and the quest for understanding is a journey best taken with an open mind and a discerning eye.